Welcome to the Outside the Business Boxes podcast, where we're talking about how to ignite your business today for the future using systems for everything you do in your business to make your life, your employees' lives, and your customers' lives easier for you to ultimately enjoy your business and, of course, make more money. I'm your host, Chad Murray. All right, everybody. Thanks for coming Outside the Business Box podcast. I am your host, Chad Murray. Another good friend of mine coming on here. We've known each other for, not quite a year now, but we've struck up a great friendship. Yes, he is in the fireplace chimney world, but he's more than just that. I mean, it's Darin Bibeau from National Chimney. I mean, my nickname for him, and I hope this keeps going and getting out, whether he likes it or not, is Mr. Badass. I call him Mr. Badass. And so I just wanted to kind of, you want to know who Darin Bibeau is, other than if you're in the chimney world to buy from National. Here's his bio right here. His bio right here is, it's his press release about him. He was raised in Plattsburgh, New York. He joined the Coast Guard, and he was in a recruit company, Delta 144 to the Coast Guard. I mean, you can just keep reading about this guy, what he did during 9/11, before 9/11, after 9/11, got in with the CIA to do special operator stuff with them. The guy just keeps going about all this badass stuff he did. So what did he do? He wrote a book. Why wouldn't he? I'd write a book too if I had that kind of stuff in my life that I could go out and show. But it's more about that. It's more of what he brings to the world, just as himself. Culture, accountability. I mean, the guy is just out of this world on accomplishments, and he doesn't tell you that. But I will tell you this: everything you can read about this book, if you don't know who he is, you're gonna call him Mr. Badass too. So without further ado, let's get into it with Mr. Badass, and here he is. Hey everybody, we're here with Darin Bibeau. He owns is a partner in National Chimney. He is a coach. He is a mentor. He is everything in a badass that if you read his book. He has a book out called Back to Bulletproof. I got the fortunate to read it, and wow, is it awesome. Hey Darin.
How you doing, buddy?
Good.
Seeing you.
So I'll just tell everybody, we just spent 15 minutes horse shitting around talking, and I just said, okay, we got to get to this thing, so let's start talking now. And so
if we started recording, we already had 15 minutes of shit to talk about.
we do. And so we actually had tears and we had laughter, we had everything in 15 minutes. But so let's just get off with the book. If you guys don't, if you're in the industry or you're not in the industry, because I have other people listening to me that are not just chimney companies, they're business people as well as service companies in particular generally. What is your book really about? And tell me a little bit about what am I going to get out of reading your book?
Well, I think the elevator speech, as people like to say, is I wrote the book. It's about my story. However, I think it relates to a lot of people. And it's not me just talking about what I've done, but it's what I've been able to do from the time I grew up, from my family life, living in the Adirondack Mountains, which is a small area in northern New York State, just south of the Canadian border, playing hockey, and then going into the military, and then after the military, going into contracting for the CIA overseas, then coming back, and then getting into the business world. So getting into the business world, I've taken a lot of the skills that I learned in the military, and I've implemented them into the business with my business partner, Marty Fuller. We own National Chimney and Natural Light Energy Systems, so we're business partners. He's a great guy, a great mentor. And so I talk about, core values. I talk about getting shit done, everyday GSD. It's a way of life. And basically that's what the book's about. I think people that will read it, whether you're in business or you've kind of lost your way a little bit, it'll get you back on track. And I'm not going to say it's 100% motivational type of book, because it's not. There's some skills in there that I'll teach you that work for me by reading the book. However, that doesn't mean it's going to change your life. I wanted to. I've gotten a lot of positive feedback from people all over the country that have bought the book and said, you know what, this really helped me do this, or this really changed my life. And in my mind, that wasn't a section of the book that I really thought was going to be mind-blowing to someone. But everyone gets something different, all these little nuggets out of the book. And some people will tell me something where I'm like, well, yeah, that was what the message was. I wanted you to get that. And then other people tell me something like, I reference washing dishes, and we can go over that in a little bit. And I reference washing dishes as a chore in your house. And I couldn't believe how many people hit me up on like Instagram and DM'd me, and they're like, oh, that's amazing. That's what I want to do. I'm everyday GSD. And so, yeah, that's what the book's about.
Okay, give the one thing about what GSD really means, because I will tell you, I'm not stealing it, but it's already part of my vocabulary.
So everyday GSD stands for get shit done.
That's right.
It's a simple way of life when you get up in the morning and you just get after it. And it's every day. So everyday GSD.
Half of my clients last week heard me say it. They did. And I'm like, well, GSD. And I forget the everyday. I just say GSD. It's like, get shit done. And they're like, what do you mean? Yeah,
I trademarked everyday GSD. I was surprised no one had it. I was like, then I realized, so many people aren't doing it.
So I have to pay you now every time I say it?
No. Spread it like wildfire. If we had more people getting shit done, we'd be all in a better place.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. It's interesting about the book. I was in the wrestling world, but I hung around the hockey players. So I mean, I can actually handle a stick better than a lot of hockey players because I played in the alleyways with all the hockey guys. Just in our old moon boots back as a little kid. In the early '80s, all the way through high school. We got bored. In Wisconsin, all the alleyways are ice. And so we would be out there in our boots and all decked up with the sticks. And of course, growing up with them, I learned how to do it. And I wasn't able to. So a funny story, in second grade, I went to my mom and I said, I want to join the hockey. And so there was a pamphlet, and one side was hockey from the YMCA, and the other side was about wrestling. And at the bottom, and as you're a parent, they bring you something, you look at it, you go right to the bottom, what's it cost, right?
What's it cost?
What's it cost? So she didn't care. I mean, whatever. So cost of hockey in the 80s was still like $300. And for a single recently divorced woman, $300 was like $3,000, right? In 1980, right? So she flips it and it says wrestling, $30. And she goes, don't you think you'd like to wrestle? And I went, no, I want to play hockey. She goes, yeah, but in wrestling, and this is my mindset of an 8-year-old, and my mom says something like, in wrestling, you get to actually beat people up. And I went, okay. And I didn't really know what hockey really was at the time.
You didn't realize you could do that in hockey too.
Yeah, I did. Well, I didn't realize it. Of course, I could see the, hitting people on the boards, but I never, incorporated it to. I actually get to kick the shit out of people on this wrestling thing, and so I joined wrestling and went through that my whole life. But but I didn't. So come ninth grade, all the hockey players were beer drinkers and all the wrestlers were pot smokers. I'm not a pot smoker. I'm a beer drinker. And so who do I naturally, start hanging out with more? It was about 7th grade I started hanging around with the hockey players more. But 9th grade high school, when everybody comes together from all the little middle schools in our town, it was like, okay, I'm a hockey guy, although I'm a wrestler. And so, it's funny, like, anyone knows, I mean, I went to Tennessee to see Stoner a couple weeks ago. And what do? We go to 2 hockey games. He has season tickets, right? So we go to 2 hockey games, and they were playing Dallas. And Dallas lost in a shootout. It sucked. But, I'm not a huge hockey fan because I don't have time for a whole lot of sports, but I do love hockey. But
And it's a great sport to watch live.
Oh, absolutely. And I asked Mark, I said, do they hear live? Do they have, does the puck yellow? Does it light up yellow? And he's like, no. And I'm like, come on, I can't watch it like on TV then. No. But, what's great about the hockey in your book, you talk about a little bit about that and how that progressed you into, to who you are a little bit today. It's kind of the start of the story, right? Is how you went into hockey. And so sports really is a big thing in how you become a leader.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think that, am I wrong? Is that kind of where you started really knowing what a leader was, except for, you talk in the book how you had an aha moment, And I think your aha moment to become a leader was what, when you were in, not basic, whatever you call it for the Coast Guard. I can't remember the story in the book, but there was a moment that you talked about it, that you had that aha moment of, okay, this is me, or something. I don't remember exactly. You have to read the book, I guess. But
yeah, but I think growing up playing sports in general is good for kids, right? And hockey, because it's a team sport, you know, when you have a team, you need a leader, and the team's only as good as its weakest link. So you, as a leader, if you're the captain of the team or assistant captain or a good contributor, you're always going to try to develop the person that's, let's say, not the best skater or someone who needs a little more help, because you want to have a winning team. Right. At least when I grew up, I know it's a little different with kids today, but we always want to win. Like, losing sucked, and second place is first place loser. That's how we grew up when I grew up. But so I think it's important, if you have kids, that they are in sports, and it doesn't mean they have to be the best hockey player out there. It can be any sport. It can be any sport that allows them to meet other people, develop their skills. And it's only going to help them grow up when they get older, because typically it's pretty rare that you work completely by yourself, unless you have an isolated job and that's specifically what you're doing. But typically you work with other people. And if you work with other people, are you going to be led by them properly because you have a good attitude, or are you going to be the leader? Both are great positions to be in. You need people that can be led as a leader, and you need to have a leader to lead the people.
Right.
So it's kind of a two-way street. So, yeah, I think I was very fortunate to have, coming from a hockey family. My brother played hockey. My dad played hockey. Everyone in my town pretty much played hockey. And if they didn't play hockey, they were at the hockey games cheering on all the hockey players. And we had other sports, obviously, with football and soccer and all the regular school sports. But hockey it's a hockey town.
Right. Well, I mean, North isn't, up in North New York, isn't that kind of a hockey space or a hockey place up there?
Yeah, I mean, we have ice rinks everywhere. It's cold all the time. And this summer we're playing hockey.
So, I mean, moving on. I mean, and I don't want to just be about the book. So, I mean, if you read the book, you're going to find out he was a special operator for the Coast Guard, which, if you've never heard of what that is, it is probably the most badass thing I've ever heard of that I didn't know existed. I mean, seriously. I mean, when you hear his stories, which I don't even want to get into them because you need to read the book, it is phenomenal. And I actually told my best friend, who was actually our center for our hockey team that I grew up with since I was, in first grade. I was finishing your book. We went and played golf last Sunday, and I said, "You got to read this book, man. You're gonna love it," because he's also a manager of a big place, and I'm like, you're going to get management, you're going to get leadership, you're going to get all the badass hockey stories, you're going to get wartime stories. I mean, and then you get all the leadership at the end. It's like, I mean, you're going to love this book. And he hasn't told me he's bought it yet, but I'm going to hammer again this weekend and say, you got to read this book. Nice. And so, but yeah, so as we move forward, what I found interesting about the book, I mean, you talked about your 9/11 experience, and I had, Admiral Boomer on. I call him Admiral Boomer, Shuffle Beam. And I mean, what a great story that is. But you have a great 9/11 story. So if I'm going to say anything, give us the elevator story of that. Just a quick, what happened on you on 9/11?
I mean, to make it a short story, it's kind of tough.
Short.
I'll make it real short. So my team had just got back from a huge drug bust in South America, and the towers got hit. We got called to go to our office, which we had this little office in Opelika, Florida, and then we put teams together, and then we flew straight to New York and started searching boats and detaining people that shouldn't be there, that were potentially going to do more harm and hazards to our country. And I was there for about 60 days after 9/11. I was there directly after the towers got hit, so within 2 days, I think. And my team was 401, which is a special operations team that the Coast Guard has, and still around. They've got 8 or 9 teams on the East Coast, same thing on the West Coast. They've just separated MSRT and tackle, but that's in the book. But it was very very unusual time for sure, especially being there and seeing the smoke and everything smoldering. It was fucking wild, man.
What's crazy about it, and I don't want to get political, because we both have the same views, I know, it's how people have forgotten about it already. It's just fucking blows my mind. How can you forget where we were that day, and in the months following, and then where we are today? It just really is just. So what I've done is I focus on this podcast and my life, and to not worry about it politically. So hopefully I can make enough money to, no matter how much they're going to take from me, I have enough to live with. So that's kind of my goal. But as we sit here, and so Darin does own a large and a really awesome distributorship that sells to our industry. So if you don't know who National Chimney is, and quite frankly, honestly, I hadn't been to that half of the world to start buying from you, and until we started doing it, it's like, what a great company. You guys really, really deliver, and I really do. Not that I don't know some of the other owners of the distributors, but I know if something happens in the future, I know I can call Darin and go, "Hey, man, what the fuck's going on here?"
Oh, absolutely.
And so, and he invites that. He tells you that when you talk to him about signing up. So that's awesome.
Yeah, my business partner Marty Fuller started the company in 1991. Obviously, I came in many years later, but he's a great guy, and he had a great vision for the company. And then we both have different skills, for lack of a better word, and we just complement each other excellently. And I've got an amazing team. We've got 9 factories around the country, about 300, little less than 300 employees. And you know what? When a customer has an issue, if my team can't fix it and they come to me, I want to know why we couldn't fix it, because everything is fixable. We're going to make mistakes, but how well you can correct them. And I can guarantee you that if it comes to me, it's going to get corrected better than any other company, because we're active. We're involved with everything that goes on.
One of my sales pitches, and it's not a pitch because it's the truth, but you label it as a pitch, is when we're talking to people, customers, is we say, and I admit it right up front, we're not perfect, but it's what, when something happens, does the company do to make sure that they be as perfect as possible at the end game. We're not ever going to give up on you, ever.
Right.
It's going to go till it's perfect, no matter what. And I have never failed at that course. And so this doesn't come out like in our scripting or anything. However, I've trained my guys, if someone is on the fence and just they're worried about a job, because at times we have that, we're estimating $20,000 relining and everything, half for rebuild and all this stuff. They're like, gosh, we've had such bad issues with other contractors, and our sales guys or educators are just flat out say, man, look at you looked at our reviews, you looked at our stuff. Here's what our promise is. Our promise flat out is, when we're done, it's perfect, as perfect as it can be. We will not give up until it's right. And so when there is a mistake, we will fix it. Not that there's a lot, but if there is, and it's not to what your specifications are, as long as it's something that we might have done wrong, it'll be corrected. And
you have to think in business, right? And this is what confuses people. So you're at Mrs. Johnson's house, Mr. and Mrs. Johnson's house, and you go there and you make a mistake. But that was the first job you've ever done for them, and you made one little mistake out of everything you did at their house. But that's what they remember, right? They remember this mistake. You could have done 50 jobs before them and didn't make one mistake, but maybe one of your new technicians slipped up on his training and just forgot something, or he did something, or she did something just a little different because they thought it was the right way to do it, but then it didn't get quality control checked. But then all of a sudden the homeowner calls you up and says, "Hey, I just hired you guys, and this is what happened." So that's the memory they're going to have if you don't fix it. Right. But if you go back immediately and make that a high priority, fix whatever the mistake is, apologize, say, "Hey, listen, I'm not making excuses, but here's what happened. Here's how we corrected it. Here's my number. We're looking forward to coming back next year." You know what that homeowner's going to remember? Hey, they're not even going to remember the mistake. They're going to tell their neighbors, say, "Hey, this company came over. We had a couple things that we wanted different. They came and fixed it immediately," and then it's a home run. Happy customer, happy everyone, and then you know what? They start telling their friends, and then you got a good business rolling.
A couple years ago, I got into callbacks for some reason. I don't remember why I was doing them. I think I was actually training an educator how to do his callbacks. And we were calling back, and this one lady answered the phone, introduced who I was, and she actually knew who I was. And then I said, we'd like to get you back on the schedule, blah, blah, blah. And plus, you have an open invoice here that you never got all the work done. And she's like, yeah, we are budgeting. We were actually looking at calling you here in the next few months or weeks or something. And she goes, and she starts telling me the story of how the last time we were there, we royally fucked up her chimney. We did something really bad. And I did know about it, but I didn't know it was her. Like when I called her, I didn't know it was her. Like I didn't go down into the notes and read about it. And when she started telling me, my first gut reaction was, oh shit. How am I going to handle this lady? And where is she going with this, right? And so finally she goes, but you guys handled it so good. We love you. We're going to use you forever. When can I schedule? Blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, I'm looking over at the guy I'm training. I'm like, see, you're starting for a good company. See, like that kind of stuff. Right. And so,
that's good.
And it's funny. I probably told this in one of my earlier podcasts that I love bad reviews. I don't want a lot of them, but I love them. Because if you just keep having a company having 5-star reviews, at some point in time it looks fishy. If you got 500 5-star reviews, something's weird. Like somehow you're able to filter, or you've got some system that's not showing the public everything you do. Because if you get to 505 reviews and you don't have a 4.5 or even a 1, I feel it's a little weird. So when I get them, I flat out will obviously call them and talk about, I already do it. So I had a 1-star review, I don't know, maybe 4 years ago, and the lady was dead on. I mean, we didn't do a good job for her. It wasn't critical. It wasn't like this, just crazy burn house type of scenario, but we definitely had some issues. So I called her up and was talking to her, and I'm sorry, I did not call her up. I called her, she didn't answer. So I got on the Google and I responded to her, please call me. And I even put my number on there, even and everything. I said, I'm the owner, I want to be able to take care of this. Please don't let this go. Well, the next day she calls and we fix it. And so we fixed it. I left it at that. And I decided, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go edit mine to show people that she called. So I went down and wrote update underneath what I said. I said, Mrs. Smith did call me, and we ended up working it out, blah, 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 da, da, da. She ended up then updating her review from a 1-star to a 4-star, and she said, they're really a 5-star company, but I'm only going to give them 4 because they did do a boo-boo, but the way they handled it, they are a 5-star company. That's her review online right now.
I love it.
And I just absolutely love it.
It's a real review. That's the thing.
Well, it shows I worked it too. I didn't just.
That's real life.
Yeah, I showed that it wasn't a review, and I went everyone wants to know on the way. I just gave the finger to the thing. I wasn't doing. I wanted to take care of my customer, and I did. And National Chimney does the same thing. So let's move on. So you are a business coach, mentor. Tell me about that.
Well, I like to say mentor or accountability partner because I feel like a lot of times people think they need a coach. And some people, believe me, they do. But a lot of times they just need to be directed in the right direction and then held accountable to make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to do. One of my pet peeves is we go to these industry trade shows and you see the same guy or gal in the front of the room writing notes and they're like, oh, I'm going to change my business. Then you see them a year later, they haven't done anything because they haven't taken that information and done anything with it. And I always say, I'll help you if I have the time and you have the time to put into it. But obviously I'm busy, so I have to pick and choose who I can help. But there's other people in my company that I can direct them to and say, okay, this is a better fit for you right now. But at the end of the day, we both have to put the time in to make sure that we're going to get the results that person wants. That's kind of it in a nutshell. I like to say mentor, accountability partner, but coaching, it's all in the same realm.
Well, really. So let me kind of just, because I went through all this coaching and consultant training. Really, what you are really is your mindset, which is a little bit of coaching, but you're also consulting them on what they need to do, right?
I like to think that I'm allowing you to bring to me the tools that you have. You're just having a little tough time implementing them, so I'm going to help you get that direction that you need, and then I'm going to hold you accountable, because a lot of times people they have the right direction, but then shiny object, and they're gone to the left, and then they're gone to the right, so they're not staying focused. But it's not like I'm calling the client every single day and go, hey, did you do your dishes? Did you make your bed?
Right.
Did you work out today?
Right.
No, by the way, did you sign your payroll checks? Like, I'm not doing that. But there's a lot of times that individuals, they will go a little bit off the beaten path because they're just not staying focused on what their end goal is, which could be a 1 year, 3 year, 5 year plan that they're trying to get after. And that plan is fluid. It's got to change because times change. I mentioned this in another podcast I just recently did. If you could predict what happened in COVID in your 5 year plan, and that was in your 3 year part, then you know what, you're a bazillionaire, right? Because you couldn't. So obviously you have to make those adjustments. Look at the restaurant industry.
Yeah.
I mean, we're eating outside. They're having to. Some of these restaurants killed it by doing takeout, and others they couldn't because they weren't equipped for that. And you can't blame them. That's just as fluid as some of those restaurants could be, and it's unfortunate. But that's just an example of what I say when I'm mentoring someone or accountability partner coaching them. I want to see people successful around me. I love to volunteer. I'm part of the Veterans of Foreign War, the VFW. We started a charity about it's a little longer than that, maybe 6 years ago, Sweep Away Cancer, which is a charity in our industry. Mark Stoner and Tommy Nelms came up to me and asked me if I want to be part of it. So we're the founders of that. We have a bunch of volunteers that help us. We raise money to help people that are directly affected by cancer. So you just fill out an application online, and we'll give you some sort of grant if you meet the requirements, which the requirements are pretty loose because we're trying to help people. We're not in this to make money. 100% of the money that we get goes back out, except for credit card processing and the fees for our taxes that we have to, the paperwork for the lawyers. But I'm also part of the CGTLE, which is a Coast Guard Tactical Law Enforcement charity where we help people. We raise money to help people that are affected, that are special operators, if they're hurt in the line of duty or something happens to their family. Then we've got a couple scholarships. Nathan Brunkenthal, he was one of our teammates that unfortunately got hit by a suicide bomber. And so we raise money, we do golf tournaments and things like that. So I enjoy doing those things.
Right.
Obviously, and running National Chimney Natural Light. It's a blast.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for Sweep Away Cancer, we donate. We started, I think, 2 months ago, donating every month. And like Chuck Roydhouse, one of your reps, or whether I don't know if he's an owner member or what he does to volunteer for you guys.
He's on the board, and he's the secretary, and he also does some treasury stuff as well. So he's a huge asset to the board.
Yeah, and we finally hooked up and called me, and we had a nice conversation I think it was Friday, and a lot of that, and so yeah, it is. I mean, my mom had breast cancer, and so fortunate she had double breast cancer. Fortunately, survived, and but I mean, I watched her go through all that, and so 10 years or maybe more than that, like 20 years ago almost now, but yeah, it's good.
One quick thing I do want to say, because you mentioned Chuck, his wife Linda, who she also volunteers and helps out with our social media. So, people have put a lot of time and effort into 100% volunteers.
Yeah.
Just like I'm on the board of directors, the executive board of directors for the Chimney Safety Institute of America. I'm the treasurer. Chuck Roydhouse is actually the president. Yeah. Tommy Nelms is the vice president. We have a nice big board, and everyone's volunteers, all to help and give back to the industry.
Well, when you need more board members, remember me. I'm new to the industry. I'm the oldest new guy in the industry. They keep calling me. Although I am the second-headed stepchild, I guess, of CCP, which I still, all that. But it is what it is. And so I've done my training, and I'm now a business coach. And so, but I am getting guys certified. I got a guy going through CSI right now. And nice. So, and I just got a guy CCP certified 2 weeks ago. So I'm doing both.
I just at Plainfield last week, I went there and talked to the new students just for a few minutes. Russ Dimmitt was one of the instructors at the time that was there, and so was Jay Cromwell, who's a rock star out there. And these guys they're just great instructors. They know what they're doing. They've been doing this for a while. And even the younger guys that are instructors, they're motivated to have our industry move to the level that it needs to be at. And we need to be professional. We need to be the in-home we need to be the in-home people that the homeowner trust.
Right.
You know, when you go in there, this is what it's going to cost to do the work. They don't automatically think you're trying to scam them, because there is a lot of scammers out there. But I can tell you, there's so many more people doing a good job that are completely legitimate, and homeowners should know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
We actually are at Masters. We're working on. We can't get Alan Rush because he's booked out for a year, and so we've sponged.
As he should be.
Yeah, well, and we've spent more. We just hopefully, and I don't get to talk to him enough, and I know this will probably be the second time I've mentioned this, and he hasn't talked to me about it, but we've got to figure out a way to get him to where he can work bigger, and, not have to and serve more people at one time. But anyway, so and I'll just tell you what we did. We took every Alan Rush we could find video on Surefire, anywhere we could have, and we got them transcribed. And we're just literally trying to just take all the little tidbits we can get out of it to train ourselves. We're on his list, and I don't care how far we get without him. We're gonna use him. I don't care, But until we can, I'm trying to get everything I can get, from what I can get from the knowledge of what I've paid for with Surefire and everything else out there, to train these guys on how to do exactly what you just said. I mean, this is an industry that's different than a lot of industries that people don't get. The right ones, the people that we're dealing with on a day-to-day basis, we actually care. And I don't mean like HVAC companies don't care, but they're such a plumber-esque, like, it's broken, we'll fix it, this is the price. And that's not what we're trying to do in this industry, right? We have upgrades to, like, well, what do you really want your fireplace to be? What do you want it to be? And they're like, well, it's never going to be efficient. Oh, well, we can make it a lot more efficient by installing a gas insert here, or whatever their dreams might be, we can help facilitate that, but then come into that we care exactly about the functionality to keep it safe. We care about what it's going to do. And yes, we are a business, and of course there's fees to this, but there is an aspect of, most of us are just a little crazy out here with the fires of the roofs, but we're crazy that we care too. And so, I don't know. It's
interesting because, like, even in the HVAC world or the plumbing world, there still are companies that do care, as you know. But I think in the chimney industry, it's more of like a brotherhood and sisterhood, and they're all trying to help each other, and they really want the best for the homeowner. And I'll just give you a quick story. So I had an issue with my ice maker at my house. I couldn't figure it out, right? And I'm trying to call the manufacturer. Apparently this is a discontinued unit, blah, blah. So I finally get a number of a guy that gives me a number of another guy. And it happens to be an HVAC company called Fellowship HVAC or heating and cooling out of Indianapolis. So I call the guy up. He's like, yeah, I probably can't be there for another week or so. I go, it's an ice maker. It doesn't matter. And he's like, but if I can fix you in sooner, I will. Anyway, the next day he shows up at my house, right? He was at a canceled appointment or something. Shows up. He tinkers around with it for a few minutes, fixes it. And I go, how much do I owe you? He goes, nothing. And he goes, this was just the problem, X, Y, and Z. And I go, well, I got to pay you. You just came out here. He goes, you know what? I had another job. Just refer me to someone. And I go, well, you know what? I also have another problem. I think there's too much air coming out of my vents in one of my rooms. You want to take a look at it? He goes, well, I don't have time, but I can set you up an appointment. Well, since then, he's worked on several of my properties. I've referred this company to everyone I know, and I can tell you, they put new heating, air conditioning units in some places, like big jobs, all because this guy came over and did the right thing. So if you happen to be in the Indianapolis area, Fellowship Heating and Cooling, these guys are rock stars. And I don't know if they listen to your podcast or not, but if they do, like,
probably not.
Give me shut up. But seriously though, but that's because these guys did the right thing.
Yeah.
You could have came and said, you know what, it's $300. We tighten this screw. I'm like, God. But they deserve that money because they have the knowledge. They went to the training, and that's what they should be getting paid to do. But this guy knew, hey, I'm gonna give this guy a deal, and he's gonna refer, and that's what I did.
It took him, 5 minutes?
5 minutes.
And I know we have this...
For the first visit. But since then, and by the way, now he's actually a customer of mine because he actually read my book. His son read my book, and his son works for him. The kid's a rock star. I'd hire this kid in a minute. I say kid, he's in his 20s.
Yeah.
But, he came down my factory. He goes, oh, my God, I use aluminum I use aluminum lining, but I get it from this company. And I was like, he goes, I didn't know you were a manufacturer. That's awesome. So now I got a customer too.
Here's the thing. You don't know. I mean, kind of like our tearful story, which I'm not going to get into. You don't know.
Yeah, please don't say it again. My eyes are finally dry.
Yeah, I know. And so anyway.
Real men do cry.
Yeah, I know. We really do. You know, my ice maker's messed up. It is. Our refrigerator pressure in the water is like, and the ice maker's not working. So I would be calling that dude in a second, as soon as we got off of, if he was in Texas.
You're laughing, but that's exactly what happened. My RO system, the water was going so slow, so I had the RO guys come out. I had all these people coming out, and over an ice maker. But then I started fixating. I was like, I've got to get this thing fixed.
Yeah.
And then it became this chore, and finally I got this guy's number. Anyway, you just heard all that story.
Yeah. So, okay, well, we can talk forever. Let me think here. I mean, we're dealing. So, okay, so let's have a little bit of fun. So what do you do in your off time?
My off time. I think that's almost a loaded question. Like I love snowboarding. Yeah, I love snowboarding. Spending time with my wife. I love to cook. We like to go out. We're very social people. I hurt myself snowboarding this year in Breckenridge back in January. I work out all the time, but when I hurt myself, I had to stop working out and do physical therapy.
What run were you on at Breck that got you?
I'll say that again.
What run were you on at Breck that got you? Do you remember?
I was just above 10 Mile Station.
Got it.
Yeah, I got hit by a skier that shouldn't have been up there. Yeah. I'm a snowboarder, but I got blindsided. Hurt myself pretty bad. Popped my shoulder out of socket. Tore my labrum. Yeah.
Ugh. I will say this. I love Summit County. I went in the 90s. I went there 8 years in a row. I love it.
I love it. My wife and I love to snowboard. So, we have a boat out in California that I share with my business partner. So pre-COVID, we were out there when the weather's not good. And then, because he was living in Arizona, I think, he was actually living in San Diego, but had an apartment. So we kind of share that, and I love being on the water. So I think that's kind of the gist of what we do on our off time.
Cool.
A lot of times, she's extremely smart and she's really good in her industry. So I get a lot of tips from her, even though she's always telling me it's a different industry. But I'm like, so how'd you guys do this? I won't name her company, but it's a $1 billion company that she works for. So they've got a lot of tools. I'm like, so what did your boss say to do? What did you tell your employees to do?
Yeah.
What is that about?
Right. So that's a great thing. So how many, I don't know if I want to go this direction or this direction. So let's talk about what you've done for your own personal development. What have you done?
What I've done for my own.
Yeah, have you hired a coach, or you have a mentor, or what have you done? Because if not everybody does the coach, I never did the coaching stuff, but I have mentors.
I think I have an advantage coming into this industry that a lot of people didn't, coming from the military and in the special operations community. So I think that there's a lot of training and mental awareness that's ingrained in us for doing it for so long, and then being a government contractor overseas for several more years after that. So then coming into the industry, I don't think I definitely wasn't looking for a coach or a mentor. But however, Marty, my business partner, he ended up just falling into that position by being a mentor. He's a few years older than me and an extremely intelligent guy. And so I learned a lot of things from him, and also things that he does that maybe that's not what I would want to do. So then we have this happy medium where, okay, this is best for the company. So I would say if you ask me who my mentor was in the industry, closest to me would be Marty for sure. And then outside of that, just some good people that are on the boards. I love when I listen to Stoner or Chuck Hall. These guys have, even though it's a different business because I'm a manufacturer, I'm in a mixed group with those guys, and the knowledge that goes around the room. Hope Stevenson, so to me, she's a wizard, and I say that in the most positive way. She's not a chimney sweep, but her and her husband own an amazing company in Arizona, and I listen to what they do, and I think I absorb what all these people are talking about, and then I see how does it fit within my company. Some of it fits right in smoothly, and we make those direct changes, operational or procedural, and then other times I'm like, okay, that's a good trick. Make sure I don't ever do that.
Well, so you don't have the one person, you do peer groups. You have a peer group that you lean on right now, or have been.
That's correct, yeah.
And so...
Yeah, which is the mixed group. For those of you who don't know what a mixed group, your listeners, so basically I'm trying to remember how many are in our group. We have, I think, 10 companies, and we meet twice a year at their location, one of the locations of the businesses, and then we just basically go through their whole business and figure out how can we help them make it better. They have some objectives that they want, and they'll say, hey, I'm really having trouble with X, Y, and Z, so then we'll go in there and go interview their employees, look at their paperwork, and go, okay, this is how we as a group think you should do this, and then we give that back to them after a few days at their facility, and then that gives them the opportunity until the next time we have their next meeting of how they can make those changes. And that's where the accountability partner stuff comes in. So we'll assign one person in the group to work directly with them, and that will just kind of keep them on track to hit the goals that they want to hit.
So let's talk about accountability. We talked about it in the pre-15 minutes, but we haven't really talked about it here. So I'll start with this one, and then I'll let you have it. My first year, I fired 3 or 4 businesses that I started coaching because I wasn't going to have the same session week after week after week after week. My time is as valuable as theirs. And I don't do this. I mean, I get paid and I love the money, but I don't do it for the money. I mean, I have grown as a coach in this industry and outside of this industry. I am not even the same person I was 3 years ago. I mean, not even close. And accountability, and now, so I tell people when I first start coaching them, and because I'm a coach consultant, not just a coach, is if I have to keep repeating myself and you bring us to this point because you're too busy, the first thing I do is show you how to not be too busy, then you're not valuing me.
Right.
I mean, and I'm looking for this to help you. And if you're not going to value the help, paid or not, goodbye. I don't need this. I'll find someone that will. And so, and I don't have a problem finding people. So, I mean, so you talk about your accountability stories or whatever you got.
Yeah, and I mean, we talked about this prior to going on the podcast here, just jokingly, but I was at an event. I was actually a speaker at the event, and towards the end there was some questions, Q&A, and someone asked me a question. I said, I'm more than happy to help you, but you have to put in the work, because if you don't put in the work, I'm not going to fucking put in the work.
Right?
Why would I do all this work if you're not going to do the work too? So then after, the individual came up to me and he was kind of a little bit insulted. And he just didn't like the way I delivered the message, but that's me, so too bad. But I did understand where he was coming from, but unfortunately that's how I am. So I told him, I said, hey, listen, I can name you 5 people that are in this seminar that I don't help because they raise their hand every time, I want you to help me, and then at the end of the day, they don't do the work. And then there's other people that are in there that do the work. I have a good friend of mine, I won't mention him on the podcast, but he wanted help, and I've helped him several times, not on a monthly basis, just on a time, hey, I'm a phone call away if you need help. And you know what? He uses me when he needs help in his business, and that's the effort I put in because he's not asking me to do more. And when he's ready for me to do more, and he's ready to do more, maybe there's more of a synergy between the two of us to do that. But at this point, I help him when he gives me a phone call, and then he makes those changes. So I think it's important, if you're looking for a coach or a mentor, whomever that may be, find someone that has the same core values as you, the same vision that you're trying to get to, and then obviously compatibility of the relationship. Do you guys get along, guy or girl? And then you have to put in the effort. Rome wasn't built in a day, my dad always said. Yeah. He also said he wasn't before me. But.
Well, it's funny. I have a chart that's from my training from being a business coach, or I got it after at some business coaching deal that we had at my affiliation. And it's a 4-quadrant box, and it says, I don't remember all 4 of them, but it was coach, consultant, and then mentor, and I believe therapist. Yeah, it is. Therapist is in the quadrant. And the bottom half, therapist and mentor, is like no training, when it comes to a lot of the systems and stuff, but very helpful and all that. And then you have the coach and consultant that is trained and going to charge you more. Like this stuff is like not free, but you know it is what it is. And then this stuff up here is like really highly paid. And like with me, what they trained us in my coaching training was if you go really cheap, you're going to have a lot of people not holding the accountability because it's not worth it to them. And when you go really expensive, it's funny how those people really, you know, shine and do well with you. You mean if you're too overexpensive, they won't be with you long, but you got to find that happy medium. And so, and I think I found that. I mean, I'm not breaking anybody's bank, you know, but in the same aspect, you know, I'm not free, and I wish I could do it for free, but I have found with people just being cheap enough that I'm not going to deal with you're going to pay me just for the accountability.
Yeah,
that's how I do it.
Right? I think it's important when people think something's free, they don't put the effort into it because they feel like, and I don't like to use the word it cheapens the service you're giving, but it really kind of does because you've spent money to get to where you are mentally and physically in business. Yeah. And now you're going to share those skills and your tips and tricks, things that worked for you that didn't work for you throughout your career. And, you know, you've been in this business for a long time. It was funny because we were talking, you and I, before, and you're like, yeah, no one knows me, but I've been doing this for years. And, you know, we started talking numbers, and I was like, it's so funny when it's such a small group of people in our industry. If you're not known, if people don't know you, they're like, oh, and then all of a sudden you show up and like, that's a new guy. He's been in business for 30 years. Or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You just don't know. And I have customers in our industry that I can tell you that they're very similar to you, that people, they don't go to the trade shows. They don't want to. They have a very successful business. They run it the proper way. And I'm not saying they don't need to go to the trade shows, but that's their business. And, you know, they look at people that they rely on in other businesses to help them. And now they do a phenomenal job. And, you know, they're not the 2 a.m. keyboard warriors.
Yeah. Well, we know about them.
Yes.
Well, it's funny because how we really got involved was a keyboard warrior was on me. And I'm just telling the story on the podcast. And if you know who you are when I tell the story, tough shit. But I put a post out there, right, on one of the groups, and I went to work. You know, I don't know, about 11 o'clock in the morning, I get a message from you going, sorry, man, you're getting blown up on whatever. And I'm like, what? And I'm like, you got to be shitting me here. And so went on there. It's like, okay, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, but I wanted to let you know because I figured you just sent out a post and you probably left it like a normal human would do.
Yeah.
And just said,
yeah.
You're like, hey, man. You know, so yeah, we became friends, and here we are.
Well, to finish that story, which is funny, but all I posted was literally, I'd gotten on there and got approved as outside the business box, not as Chad Murray. So what happened was I put on there, is there anything else? Because we were looking into getting an air duct cleaning. And we've been looking at it for 15 years. And we never really needed it. Well, after having such a shit year of COVID last year, we decided, okay, well, our special plan for the future is to add that one more extra service for the spring months when we're dead, you know. And so, and it would be all year round, but we really wanted to fill these holes that we have. So I thought, well, what else is everybody else doing? So I go on there just as outside the business box. Hey, what are y'all doing out there for, other businesses? And all of a sudden, flooding in the people who are not 30 truck businesses, essentially going, you don't need to do anything else but chimney companies or chimney work. And it's like, and then all of a sudden one guy gets on there and starts bashing me personally. And that's when you got on board. And so what did I do? And if you guys, and you've gotten to know me, but other people know me, I have a funny, quirky little, fight mentality to me. So I went in there as myself, got approved as Chad Murray now, and went on that post and went, who the hell is this outside the business box guy? What is he doing? Who does he think he is to ask us about this work? And then these other perpetrators started getting on board, and I don't remember who it was. Someone goes, you realize outside the business box is Chad.
Yeah.
And I felt like I got my, that was my first haters that I have right there. And so it is what it is. I don't care. They're definitely not listening to my podcast. And if they are, hey, maybe you learned something. Don't be such an asshole,
Yeah,
And so
haters motivate me. I don't think just boom.
Yeah. Well, here's the funny thing. I was on a walk with my daughter last night, and two of my daughters, my two middle daughters, and we're doing 3 miles, and we're on the first mile, and I said, well, what do you guys want to ask me? I always say this to them. What do you want to ask me? Because I like my dad, like I know a lot about my parents, but my parents don't know shit about their parents. They don't. They didn't have that generation where they talked a lot, right? So you don't really know. My grandpa, my dad's dad, nobody knows who the hell he was before he was 35 years old. I mean, we don't know if it was mafia. We have no idea. I mean, like Fort Worth mafia type stuff. We have no idea. Because he definitely had that kind of, he was that type of guy. But he was quiet and a big guy, and he had a presence. And so anyway, I lost my train of thought. But, we're on the walk. So I said, well, what do you want to ask me? And so and Gracie goes, I heard you talking, or you posted on one of your posts the other day, that when someone gets mean to you or something, that you play real dirty. What does that mean? and she goes, can you give me an example? I said, well, I don't have an example for you right now, but I'll explain what it means. And it's not right, but if you cross me, I'm not going to lose. and that's just my personality. It just is what it is, And so anyway, that really, everybody, if you want to buy from National Chimney, it's not if you want to buy, you have a very good option to buy from National Chimney. If you want to read one of the best books you'll ever read, back to Bulletproof. It is done. Darin wrote it so well. It's on Audible as well. I mean, I'm doing your plug here for you. It is an excellent book, and it's not just about business. If you just want to hear a great story, it's a novel in my eyes. It is not just that. It really is. I mean, I got pissed off when I had to get off 2 planes because I had to pause it. I'm like, oh, what happens here? They're on that gun ship, or they're going after that shipping. Shit, I don't know. It's like I want to know what they did. It's such a good book, and Darin and I have become really good friends. And man, I appreciate everything you're doing for me and the industry. So thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on the show. And like I said about the book, I'm excited that people are liking it, and I hope more people read it. And I don't care if everyone buys it. If you buy it, read it, give it to a friend, and and I'm on all the social medias. Darin Bibeau, all that's just basically my full name on Instagram and all that stuff. So you can see some of my videos that I put out. So there's a lot of fun stuff that we do, and hopefully people enjoy the book. And if you want to do business with me and you're in the chimney industry, National Chimney is always hiring new customers.
Well, there's not just chimney stuff. What else do you guys do? The skylights?
Yeah, we do skylights and solar attic fans, traditional skylights and tubular skylights. So my business partner started Natural Light Energy Systems. Don't quote me, but I think 10 years after he started National Chimney. So we have that business. Then we purchased a couple other businesses along the way. We acquired them to come into our portfolio. We acquired Magnaflex several years back. Kennedy Skylights, which we buy them, put our management team in, then get everyone to follow our core values. Get rid of the people that aren't part of the team, and the rest of the people that are pushing the bus forward are the guys and gals that stay. And we've got a phenomenal team throughout the country. So I couldn't be more thankful for how hard my employees work and the dedication that they do to help the customers get the product they need on it every single day. I'm thankful.
Guys, and I messed up with Darin here. We needed to talk about culture. You got an extra 5 minutes? Tell me about your culture, because that's just awesome and fascinating. I love how you build your business. Talk about it.
I think we got a phenomenal culture. We allow the employees, and they allow us as upper management to communicate to each other to find out, what works and what doesn't work. And, whether it's extra days off, or it's buying lunch for the crew, or, giving them spiffs when, it's 1,000,000 degrees in the hot sun in Arizona and they're trying to get out products, or they're staying late on a Saturday. I like to think that my team works hard because they want to do a good job, not because we make them do a good job. We follow core values to a T. We hire, we fire, everything off our core values. It's on our T-shirts. It's on the walls. We have these little cards that everyone carries around in their pocket. With the core
cool!
values
Oh, shit! I need that. That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah, and our core values is an acronym. It's honor. So that's how coming from the military, filled with acronyms. So it's honesty and integrity, operating at the highest level at all times. Never say never. O for originality, thinking outside the box. And the last one's R, respect the customer, the company, yourself. And my team, we created these because that's the way we operate. And like I said, I think our culture is great. Always room for improvement.
Sure.
It's one of the things we're constantly working on. And it's fun.
That is. So there you go. If anything that came out of this, guys, what he just said is he's actively working on his culture all the time. It's not a system you start and forget. Because when you do that, you just become stagnant and you're right back to where you were.
No regrets, no limits, and no excuses.
There you go. That's the perfect way to end it. So if anyone wants to get a hold of you, do you want to put that out there or what?
Sure, you can get a hold of me through social media. And like I said, I've got a lot of videos and cool stuff that you can watch out there. It's just basically my full name, Darin, Darin Bibeau. On Facebook, it's Darin Bibeau Official. On Instagram and Twitter and all the other stuff, it's just Darin Bibeau. And then, of course, if you want to do business with us, National Chimney, it's pretty simple, nationalchimney.com. We got sales reps all over the country that are awesome guys.
I got roofers on here, too, so where do you get skylights from? Put it out there. What's the email?
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
From National Chimney.
Oh, it's all national? Okay.
Yeah. It's Word. We have different names for the companies, but we all sell the product. So Natural Light Energy Systems. We're based out of Phoenix, Arizona, and then the traditional skylights, the glass ones, we make those in Indianapolis, also in Florida. So we make them and ship them all over the country.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming on, Darin.
Thanks for having me, brother.
All right. Take care.